Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Practical Weapons channel. I'm your host Alex. Today is a attempt to cover Uncoverable, the first inexpensive optic for the home defense, range, and have fun AR-15 in the US, of course, as of beginning of June 2020. I have a few options on the table from my collection. I do own a lot of different optics, most of it is budget, and let's take a look and discuss. Let's start with the most basic. You do or do not want to have mechanical or iron sights on your gun. What are iron sights for? Well, they're the default backup sights. Just in case anything happens, they should be available. In case any other optic falls off or breaks or anything happens, you have irons, your gun is still functional. I mean, some people can shoot without sights at all. I have actually seen that happen. I can't. So I at least want to have some kind of iron sights. This is an example from UTG, actually most recent UTG purchased from by me. Aluminum micro iron sights with a button. Why did I buy aluminum, you ask? I have a piston AR-15 pistol, and I want to be able to put the front sight on the gas block and not on the handguard rail. Gets me a little bit more distance. I will show you when I'm done with that pistol what it looks like. It is an 11.5-inch Adams Arms. So these will go on that gun. They will provide me the default functionality, and that for many cases is enough to reach 50 to 100 yards. I usually use meters in calculations, but speaking English, might as well use yards, and most of our ranges are also in yards. Of course, there is a variety of irons out there, from super duper expensive ones to long distance ones to tritium and so forth. I do own, I think, a sight set from Daniel Defense, maybe even more than one. I own a gazillion of Magpul sights. I own a couple of diamond head sights, which you see in front of you. These, in my mind, fit very well on a home defense AR-15 or pistol, large format pistol, whatever you want to call it, because you can see them in the dark, more or less. And I like them for that purpose. So that's not as good as tritium sights, but still get the job done, especially at short distance. In many cases, in the inexpensive sight area, you don't have much of a choice. But in most recent time, Chinese sights have become fairly usable, or Chinese-made sights for American companies, and not expensive. So let's start from alternative to irons, which are the 1X sights. 1X in our cases are either red dots. Here's the Gromio MSR green dot, $100-something when I bought it. You can have a huge number of red dots. Very, very wide choice. I'm showing one, I own probably 20. Not MSRs, but in general. Some low ends, some high ends. Aimpoint is on my primary go-to gun, Aimpoint PRO. But it is outside of the questionable niche of $100 to $300 sight. This will work for most situations, I think, even in home defense. The battery lasts 20,000 hours. It will co-witness with the regular irons on the AR-15 in this mount. This is the regular mount. What else do we need? Not much. Put a light on that gun, you're set. That is, if you don't have astigmatism, and I do. 2 MOA dots still work for me. My astigmatism is not that bad. but anything larger and I'm seeing stars or comets. So the alternative to the irons and red dots. Prismatic sights, prismatic scopes, prisms. One of the most popular companies today for optics is Vortex. This is the Spitfire model, which is the previous generation, which is still more than functional for most cases, especially with the excellent reticle and illumination that they provide. And they provide both green and red illumination. Honestly, I like green more. For some reason, it catches my eye faster. This is right now in a low mount. They come in both high and low mount, depending on what you want to install them on. It is a fairly large sight, but it is inexpensive, and it is very reliable in my experience. This one I'm planning to put on something that is not an AR15. How would you guess? Because it's in a low mount. And lifetime warranty never hurts. Alternatively, I have a number of different 1X sights. Some of them you have seen on this channel, some of them you have seen on this channel very shortly. Next one is the only micro prism that I know of, at least that I own, which is the Bushnell Little Prism. It has illumination, and that illumination is button activated on the side. So here you can see what it looks like. I'm going to turn it off to conserve the battery, and it's off. By the way, when you get it down to 0, it will blink to show you that it turns off. Pluses of the sight. It's tiny, tiny, tiny. It's very small. It is 11mm tube. 11mm diameter tube. That should give you an idea. It's basically half of what the tube is on the Vortex sight. But it still works. I put it on one of my AR15s. You know what? I don't see the sight. The reticle is in my eye. I can see it very clearly. And I have no problem with it. I do want to try it more at the range before giving any kind of final or semi-final suggestion on what I think about this sight. But I like it, and it's 150 bucks. It matches at least. It is a $300 sight, otherwise at least MSRP. This is Bushnell. So chances are it is made in either China or Korea. I think it's probably Korean sight. Or not, but still made for an American company, so the quality is not that bad. And the last of the 1X sights that I own is Monstrum Tactical. This is their 1X that I had on EP9. I took it off for now. I'm changing things on that gun, so it might actually get a whole new overhaul. It is not a bad sight. It's not a great sight, but for about $60 to $100, it works. What else do we need for that price? This might be a good sight for something simple, where you don't want to spend too much money, but you want to be able to aim. Let's say Ruger Charger comes to mind, 1022 Charger. It doesn't need a zoom, much of a zoom. This is a 1X. This might just work just fine, maybe. And then last but not least, the sight that almost did not make it into this review, while we are still on prismatic sights, is the 2.5X primary arms prism. It is still functional for self-defense, but 2.5 might be a little bit too much. Plus it is a fairly large sight, larger than almost anything else on the table other than the LPVOs. It does give you ability to work up close. If you train how to use the zoom up close, it's not going to be as good up close as the 1Xs. And it gives you a fairly good reticle. illumination to work up to a couple hundred yards, depending on the caliber. Obviously in a 9mm Ronnie, I'm not looking at a couple hundred yards. This is a 100-yard gun configuration when I have the pistol in it. Right now, this is not even a firearm. This is just a platform. So that's for the prisms. Alternatively, of course, if you need to reach longer distances, make it slightly more universal firearm, you might want to invest into a good magnifier. This is just an example. I don't have a functional mount for it, otherwise I would show it to you. This is a Primary Arms 3X Generation 3 magnifier. In other words, this thing would just fit behind the 1X of some kind, and you get a 3X magnification, basically a 3X sight when you need it. Then you can put it to the side and it becomes again a 1X. So now that we are looking to reach further distance, LPVOs come into play. And it's not going to be Steiner or Zeiss or Schmidt and Bender level LPVOs. They're simply more expensive than the question. $300 does cut off quite a few LPVOs. There's still plenty available. But what you want is, first of all, quality and illumination as part of that quality, because self-defense sights should have illumination if you need to use it in darker settings. Of course, you could have a sight without illumination and use a flashlight, but flashlight is a tool of specific situations. It has its own benefits and it has its own cons. As an example, 1-4 LPVO from Riton. This is their Mod 3, I think, or Mod 2, that I got off wood a couple of months ago, before the whole coronavirus craziness and the riots and whatnot. Less than $100. Is it true 1.0? I have not tested it yet. That will be a question for the future, so to speak. And of course, you cannot look through it if you don't open from both sides. It might actually be a true LPVO, true 1X. I just pointed at my optical test panel on the wall. 1-4 illumination, not the greatest, definitely not the worst. Some kind of ballistic reticle that could be available to reach longer distances. Red illumination of different levels. Is it daylight bright? Don't know yet. Need to check. All of this needs to be checked. It's just an example of what to look for. I think if you go LPVO, at least go 1-4. At least 1-4. I don't know if most people for home defense situations need higher magnification, but if you live on a ranch or you need longer, get 1-6. Quite a few 1-6 scopes right now are under $300. Sometimes you can get a Vortex Strike Eagle 1-6 on sale at Palmetto State, I think. That's where I got mine. They have Generation 2, you can find Generation 1 still. They're going to be right there under $300, including a mount. This is a True Glow, which is not very well known for their scopes, to say the least. But they do make them, and they're not that bad. This is a 1-6 scope. It cost me $120-something a while ago. And it's not exactly horrible. Now, the fact that they actually put their brand inside the reticle is kind of funny sometimes. If you actually have the scope, you can see that there is True Glow inside the reticle on the sides. Still, for those that need it, it comes with a lever already installed. I did not buy this separately, so you can quickly move it back and forth. It is more universal than 1-4 for slightly more money, and you don't have to do anything. You just install, configure, 0, you're done. It has green and red illumination, as an option of somewhat inexpensive but functional LPVOs, this might be a good one. Of course, this is not Nikon, this is not this is not Leopold. Quality-wise, this is a P223 Nikon 1.5 to 4.5. I think the glass on this Nikon scope is going to be better. But it does not have any kind of illumination. This might be an option. Nikon is out of the rifle scope business, but you can find this scope with the BDC. This is a BDC version, P223. You can actually have a program that tells you for your ammunition where each dot on the BDC points to. 120 bucks, $130 might not be a bad option if this is where you're leaning to. Again, I would not consider this a self-defense type optic, unless it's self-defense outside or you have a flashlight to go with it. So those are the options I wanted to list. Kind of a slightly messed up introduction, but again, you go from irons to 1x, either prism or red dot, maybe a low-end holo, such as maybe older generation Neotechs or some companies that make lower-end holographic sights. You can add a magnifier to your 1x optics. You can also buy low-power prismatic scopes, but they're going to have their cones, such as this 2.5. It's still under $300. You can buy them for about $200. Then you go into LPVOs, anywhere from 1 to 4, 1.5 to 4.5, such as this Nikon, or 1 to 6. I honestly don't think there's going to be a viable 1 to 8 scope in the $100 to $300 price range. Hopefully this helps, and if you have questions, let me know.